Hello, my fellow Pythonistas. Welcome to another edition of Python with Friends. I took a week off with my family to travel to Uganda, which is a nearby country here in East Africa. And I didn't have the time to drop one or two videos as I usually have been doing. But today I decided to come back with a short project. If you've been following this series from the beginning and you've made your way up to the point we are at now, you can tap yourself on the back. I want to say congratulations to you, because right now, the way we're going to proceed, we're going to be proceeding with more of projects so that you know how to play around with this data with real life examples, not just snippets, but more of projects. So without much ado, we're going to jump onto our Colab and then download a few data sets and play around with them. I hope this video is going to be short. I don't know how short it's going to be, but we'll just move ahead and see. Let's hop on. So as usual, we'll just click on our Colab. And go to New Notebook. We're going to name this notebook miniProject. You can call it whatever it is as you follow along. miniProject. And I'll just call it seaborn. There's a reason why I'm going to call it seaborn. And here what we're going to do, so we're going to import a new library, which I've not mentioned before, called seaborn. Seaborn is a plotting library. Sometimes we use it because of how beautiful it makes the plots look. But we're not going to plot today. I know some of you have been asking for lessons on plotting, but we won't plot today, not just yet. We want to use seaborn to download data set from it that we're going to use. So let's just import seaborn. You can import it as anything, SB, some people call it SB, some people call it SNS. I kind of prefer SNS. So we're going to work with SNS. The seaborn library has a method called load dataset. So let's just check it. SNS, remember when we're working with pandas and we gave it the alias PD, and we use PD, data frame, PD, whatever we're working with. Now we are using seaborn and we gave it the alias SNS. And so it's going to be SNS this. So SNS load, there we go. Dataset is a method that is contained in that package. Let's see what that method has for us. If you can move to the right-hand side here, you can see it has quite a lot of writing. You don't need to know everything, but I can tell you a little bit. It seems like it has a GitHub repo that contains some of the data that we have inside that we can download. And these are the links to it. We're not going to go that way. We're just going to access whatever they have for us using the name given to us here. This is one. It's called tips. Sorry, let me get my marker here. Right? This is another one called flights. So go down, you find another data set called exercise. This is very popular if you've been doing machine learning for a long time. Titanic. And then they have penguins. And lastly, here they have diamonds. Lovely. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check diamonds and see what we have. There you go. We can see our columns here: carat, cut, color, clarity, depth, table, price. I'm not really into diamonds that much. I don't sell them. But I'm sure if you're into diamonds, you know what this is. But let's check penguins. Let us play around with some of them. Let's just see what they contain. Okay, this one seems to be describing penguins. And I'm interested in exercise. I do it on and off. Let's just see what kind of data they have collected for exercise. Have we done it? Still running. We have to wait. Sometimes the internet just fluctuates and it takes time for me to connect with the kernel. Okay, here we are. Diet, pulse, time, no fat. Okay, you know how to get this data. You can just go through it and see what you can find inside. I am more interested in this one called tips. All right, tip, somebody was given a tip. This is the gender of the person, smoker, yes or no, okay. Day, probably day of the week. Time, okay, dinner time, lunchtime, I guess. I actually don't know what size means. So normally, the moment you get a data set like this, the best thing for you to do is to check the info. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a data, a variable name. I'm going to call it, let's call it, should I call it tips? Yeah, since that's what it is, call it tips. Then run it. Then I'll say tips.info just to see what is contained in it. There are 244 entries. Lovely. And the index variables from 0 to 243. We know what that means. We have 7 columns. Okay. And they are listed here from 0 to 6. We know why, we know how Python counts from 0, right? Instead of from 1, whatever reason. And we can see here that we have 244 non-null values, 244 non-null values, which means that every entry is complete. There's none that is missing. Beautiful. Yeah, I like that. What else can we do? Well, let's have a look at our data set. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just look at a sample, right? Let's say 5. We know what sample means, what I'm trying to do. Okay, we just sampled randomly 5 of the 244 entries we have. And this is what we're seeing. I wonder why my sample decided to select only the males. So I'm going to run it again. Just one female. Why? Good. So I'm seeing how the data looks. And of course, yes, there's lunch here, and there's Friday, there's Thursday, there's Saturday, there's Sunday. Okay. This is nice. So what kind of questions can we answer from this data? What if we want to know how many females came for lunch? How would we do that? How would we do that? How many females came for lunch? All right. If we say tips, I will say sex is equivalent to female. Let's be sure of our spellings. And we do it this way. We're going to get true, false, true, false, true, false. So what we did was we all know what we just did. We just selected the entries where the sex column recorded females. So you just selected true, false, false. So where is false? It means the entry wasn't female. We can now put this in round brackets and then do another one. And we'll say tips. What were we thinking of? Time equals to, let's say, lunch. Does that mean anything? From what I can see, I have a bunch of false, but I wouldn't know. I want the true. So I can do the look method of subsetting. So if I cover the whole of this in square bracket, then I say tips dot lock, and this will now give me a data frame with all the times, which is a lot, that females came for lunch. This is beautiful. I see female lunch, sorry. We'll give it a variable name. It's a data frame already. We'll give it a variable name and then assign the values of that data frame into that variable name, female lunch. You could do the same for male dinner if you wanted to. I'll just let you do that one. Now we have a new data frame now. We have divided the whole data frame into one that shows female lunch. But what if we want to know how many females who come for lunch smoke? That is one way. I want to see the column names. What columns do we have here? Aha, we have the same columns: total bill, tip, sex, smoker. Our sex will all be female, so this is not really required because everybody there is female. We want to know how many smokers come for lunch who happen to be females, because for this data set we have only for females. So how do we do that? Same thing. We call it out with a square bracket. Smoker. Remember, it's true, huh? Aha, quite a number of smokers. Wow. Oh. So what do we do now? We do the final subsetting. Look. And now we have reduced our data. We have reduced our data frame to females that don't smoke. Yeah, that was a mistake. I thought I was dealing with smokers, so I should have said true. I should have said yes. So there are more females who don't smoke. That's good. All right. I will want us to go back to the first data frame, which is tips. And I want us to find the maximum bill paid per meal and break it down into female, sex, smoker, just two, sex and smoker. We're going to do that using the group by method that we learned. If you want to know more about group by, you can check in the description. I'll put a link to the last video on group by. So here we go. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use a method of chaining to do that. So I put everything around brackets. So I write the function group by open bracket, and I'm going to put the square bracket in because I'm going to start selecting some rows. First, I'm going to pick a sex, right? I'm putting in square bracket because I want to drop a list. The next, I'm going to put whether it's a smoker. Sorry. Whether it's a smoker. And yeah, I'll just let it be like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is to choose what I'm going to perform my arithmetic operations on. So I think it's going to be total bill because I'm actually interested in so I'll drop it here. The max will work. Yep. So short. So the way I broke it down is we have the male who is a smoker and how much is spent. So the smoking male spent probably $50, and the non-smoking male spent 48. The smoking female. So what we're getting from here is that smokers eat a lot, at least in this restaurant. Another thing we could do is to find the mean, which might give us a better piece of information, the average that any of these people spend. Then here we're seeing a bit of a difference. On average, the male smoker spends more for anything, whether dinner or lunch. On average, the female non-smoker spends more on average. But the maximum paid, like we checked the last time, was paid by smokers in each sex category. Funny. We could add something else just to check it out. We could check time. What's the average spend? Whether it's dinner time or lunchtime. This will be interesting. So the male who is a smoker spends less on lunch than he spends averagely than he spends on dinner. And the non-smoker spends more on dinner. For the female also spends more for dinner whether smoker or non-smoker. That's interesting. Interesting data. We could also check max based on these aggregates. The male spends more for dinner for the smoker. Same with the non-smoker. And of course, it's always dinner. Everybody spends more on dinner. Lovely. What about, where is it? Who gives more tips? Who gives more tips? So here, I changed this to tip. Who tips more? Number one, the tipping is done more at dinner time. Smoker or non-smoker, you can see that here. The smoking male tipped 10. Let me do it so that you can see. The non-smoking tipped 9, I assume it's dollars. The female, yep, the maximum a female smoker is given was during the dinner time. And the maximum a non-smoking female gave was at dinner time. We could also check the average, which actually tells us more than just the maximum. What do we have here? Even with this, on average, dinner times are when the tips are higher. Smokers, non-smokers, females who are smokers, females who are non-smokers. Dinner times are when the tips are higher. Well, this was meant to be a very short video on some real life projects, something you can do. These are data sets curated somewhere, I don't know where. If restaurants, have this kind of data, you can collect them and play around and see what insights you can get from them. So you can join the classroom if you're not already a member, and I will I'll tell you what to do as you play around with this data set. I just wanted to show you different places to get data sets. I've shown you how to upload CSV files and various types of files. I've shown you how to go to Wikipedia to get data and play around with it. I've shown you how to go to GitHub to get data. This is one other way of doing the same thing, using some of the libraries we have and then looking for the data sets that they have installed that you can download and play around with. You need to play around with this data set. You need to, see whatever insights you can get from them so that you can improve your skills as a data scientist. Well, this is all I have for you today. As usual, I will ask you to like this video by giving it a thumbs up and then hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell so that if I make more videos like this, you'll be able to get them as soon as they are made, as soon as they are published. And also, you can join the classroom. There's a link here for the classroom that I hope. I just interact with a few people who are interested in trying to upskill their skills in Python and some pandas. So just come around and we're going to have some fun. Thank you and happy coding, everyone. Ciao.